Meter pole. A chemically treated wood pole, steel pole, or equivalent, owned and maintained by customer and used for terminating the service drop and supporting the meter and service equipment, refer to Section 1400. Meter pedestal. A CPS Energy pre-approved single standalone weatherproof electrical enclosure consisting of a utility pole section with optional single meter socket, and a customer section containing optional distribution and control equipment. All electrical equipment, lug landing, meter socket, distribution, and control equipment, are protected within Type 3R cabinet. Utility metering and lug landing compartments are isolated from customer distribution and optional control section. The unit may be pad mount or concrete embedded on or in a minimum 18-inch diameter by 20-inch depth concrete base, refer to Figure 1501. Meter room, electrical. A dedicated room approved by CPS Energy that is provided and maintained by customer solely for housing electric meters and service equipment. The room and equipment therein shall be readily accessible to authorized CPS Energy persons. Customer shall provide permanent lighting in the meter room. Meter socket. Meter sockets are classified as either single-phase or three-phase and are either self-contained or transformer-rated. Self-contained meter sockets operate directly from the service voltage and load current. Transformer-rated meter sockets require current transformers, CTs, or voltage transformers, VTs, or both, to reduce the service current or voltage when they are beyond the ampacity of self-contained meter sockets. National Electrical Code, NEC, ANSI/NFPA 70. An American national standard published by the National Fire Protection Association for the purposes of safeguarding persons and property from hazards arising from the use of electricity and setting forth provisions considered necessary for safety. Electrical contractors must abide by the NEC, for internal and external wiring of buildings and structures. This code shall be referred to herein as the NEC and shall mean the edition of the code approved by the City of San Antonio. In all other areas, the NEC shall mean the edition of the code approved by the State of Texas or the appropriate authority having jurisdiction. National Electrical Code and NEC are registered trademarks of the National Fire Protection Association, Quincy, MA. National Electrical Safety Code, NESC, ANSI C2. An American national standard published by the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers Incorporated. IEEE. The purpose of the NESC is the practical safeguarding of persons during the installation, operation, or maintenance of electric supply and communication lines and associated equipment. It shall be the 2017 edition and all subsequent editions. Nipple. Shall be rigid metallic conduit, RMC, or intermediate metal conduit, IMC, not exceeding 24 inches in length. Equipment grounding and / or bonding as per applicable requirements. Note. The use of the term note in these standards shall be intended to convey general information as well as mandatory requirements specifically referenced within. Overhead distribution area. All areas within the CPS Energy boundary lines except that area served from the CPS Energy downtown network system. Overcurrent. Any current in excess of the rated current of equipment or the ampacity of a conductor. It may result from overload, short circuit, or ground fault. Overload. Operation of equipment in excess of normal full load rating, or of a conductor in excess of rated ampacity that, when it persists for a sufficient length of time, would cause damage or dangerous overheating. A fault, such as a short circuit or ground fault, is not an overload. Parallel operation. Parallel operation is the operation of two or more sources of AC electrical power whose output leads are connected to a common load. Connection of the power sources is made so that the sources electrically function as a single source of power. Parallel operation requires that the two sources of electrical power must match in voltage, frequency, and number of phases. Point of common coupling. From the perspective of the distributed generation, DG, this is the nearest point on the CPS Energy system where other customers can be connected. This is generally the point where system voltages and harmonics are metered, as it best represents the DG's impact on other customers on the CPS energy system. Point of delivery. Pod, the point where the electric energy first leaves the conductors or devices owned by CPS Energy, and enters the service entrance, other conductors or devices owned by customer, unless otherwise specified in customer's service agreement. Customer assumes all responsibility on customer's side of the point of delivery for service supplied or taken, as well as for customer's installation including appliances and apparatus used in conjunction therewith. The precise point of delivery is well defined herein and is intended to be applicable to the majority of services. All parties concerned must recognize that isolated circumstances not covered in this document may require delivery at a point other than specified herein. Common points of delivery. A. Service drops. Where there is a point of junction between CPS Energy service drop conductors and customer's service entrance conductors, the point of delivery will be at that junction, service head. Where CPS Energy has existing service conductors continuous and unbroken to a meter socket or enclosure, the point of delivery will be at the load side of the meter socket or load side of the metering current transformers. B. Board areas and apartment complexes with underground service. On 1 meter installations, the point of delivery will be at the load side of the meter socket or load side of the metering current transformers. Where a main disconnecting device is installed ahead of meters, the point of delivery will be on the line side of the main disconnect device. Customer shall provide cable terminating lugs appropriate for cable size. When CPS Energy owns service laterals supply 2 or more meters, the point of delivery will be in a junction box ahead of an auxiliary wire gutter as required and specified by CPS Energy, refer to Fig. 1815. Exception number 1. Where 1 to 6 meters are served from a customer-owned meter module, the point of delivery will be at the line side of meter module main lug-only bus, or line side of main breaker. Customer shall provide cable terminating lugs appropriate for cable size. Meter modules are owned and maintained by the customer. Exception number 2. Where an auxiliary wire gutter is sized to a minimum of 16H×8D and is used to supply not more than 2 residential dwelling units or apartments, an external junction box is not required and the point of delivery will be in the auxiliary wire gutter. Exception number 3. Where step bus gutters meeting CPS Energy specifications are used by customer and length is adequate to supply the maximum number of meters that may be supplied from gutter, an external junction box is not required and the point of delivery will be at bus gutter. C. Pad mount transformers. Where pad mount transformers are installed to serve commercial or industrial customers or high-rise residential use buildings, the point of delivery will be at the secondary transformer spades, regardless of meter location. Exception. Where a tap box is required in accordance with Section 1000, the point of delivery will be in the tap box. D. Underground service from overhead distribution. Where an underground service is taken from a transformer or secondary on a CPS Energy pole in the overhead distribution area, the point of delivery will normally be at the meter equipment located outdoors on customer's building or structure. Where meters are grouped with wire gutters in accordance with Section 1800 and a bus gutter is used, the point of delivery will be in the bus gutter, or it will be in the main disconnect ahead of the gutter if one is required or installed. Refer to Section 600 for more detailed information. E. Services supplied from the downtown network system. The point of delivery will be at the point of junction between the CPS Energy cable terminator, load side of fuse pad, grid-tied disconnect, or grid-tied fuse pad, and customer's service conductors. F. Primary voltage service, overhead. The point of delivery will be at the load side terminals of the CPS Energy primary metering equipment. G. Primary voltage service, underground. The point of delivery will be in a metering compartment within customer's switchgear or switchboard, or in a separate primary meter enclosure. H. Primary voltage cable to high-rise residential buildings. When CPS Energy-owned primary voltage cable serves transformer vaults with transformers supplying secondary voltage service to grouped or individual meters, the point of delivery will be in the transformer vault or room at the secondary spades of the transformer. All CPS Energy-owned conductors shall be effectively outside the building. Refer to definition of conductors considered outside of building, point of interconnection. The point where the distributed generation, DG, itself is electrically connected, either directly to the CPS energy system or to the load side, metered, of the customer-owned equipment for the applicable DG system. Portable. A structure that by design is manufactured with the purpose and intent of being moved from one location to another. Manufactured homes installed on permanent foundations are still by design, structures that may be relocated from one site to another. Raceway. An enclosed channel of metal or non-metallic materials designed expressly for holding wires, cables, or busbars, with additional functions as permitted by the NEC. Raceways include, but are not limited to, rigid metal conduit, RMC, rigid polyvinyl chloride conduit, PVC, intermediate metal conduit, IMC, electrical metallic tubing, EMT, surface raceways, wireways, and busways. Refer to definition of service raceway. Raintight. Constructed or protected so that exposure to a beating rain will not result in the entrance of water under specified test conditions.